Everyone is innocent. The moment is fresh. This man is innocent of being my Uncle Harry. Let me be grateful to be here. Let me be grateful that I'm here with him, and let's go. Let's see what happens now. Okay? There's a sense of relatedness, of connection, like you both dropped down fresh, like you just got born in that moment. All right? Okay. So this morning I held up Pushti to the mirror right close to my face. He's adorable. He's got the most adorable little face. And I was looking in my mirror, Rick was looking in his mirror. We were in the bathroom together, and I said, do dogs look like their owners? Because I wish I looked like Pushti. He is so adorable. And then I remembered that people often say when they, play with Pushti, they remark about how small he is, and they sometimes make a remark about how small his brain must be, how it must be maybe smaller than a walnut. And I immediately put Pushti down. And sometimes when people see Pushti eat, they say, my God, with that appetite, he must have a stomach that can expand infinitely. And he's very roly-poly. And I thought, no, I really don't want to look like Pushti. And when that thought came, I immediately did this kind of animated cartoon of myself, undoing myself as Pushti and reconstituting myself as Lindsay. It's amazing. Our minds are amazing. We do this all the time, every day. Trying to identify with something. Identity is a really interesting word. It's from the Latin, identicum, and it means a double-double. It's a duplicate. It means same, same. Idem, idem. Same, same. So identity, within identity are two things. Something that is the same as something else. Okay? To be separate requires that there be two things, that there be me and you, that there be something over here and there be other, right? How we experience the world, we feel we will never get out from under it. And a lot of what causes our incredible agony is that thought during the day, even when we look at the newspaper, oh my God, how could that person have done that? I could never do that. Who are they? Who are they? When we read about war, when we read about the child who was abducted, just a couple of days ago, and held by this man, and we think, how could someone do that? Who are they? What kind of a universe am I in? Or even if it's something as simple as someone lashes out at you, someone that you trusted, someone that you love, a dear friend or a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. And the feeling of separation isn't just they're having a bad day. Suddenly the world is random. Suddenly the whole fabric is falling apart. The thing you've leaned on is suddenly insecure, and you experience a kind of groundlessness that can be profound. And you can lash out, you can strike back out of the fear of that alone. And you can drive a wedge in a relationship very quickly that way. Because that person doesn't understand what actually happened. It's far bigger than just that small event. But remember, the world is a reflection of you, would have to be, because you're throwing that filter up. If you're seeing from only your point of view, you're only seeing what belongs to you. Are you with me? Right? You're only seeing what belongs to you. There are things that you literally can't see. My husband is an incredible whiz on the computer. And all the time I'm asking him about things on the computer, and he'll come over to me and he'll say, well, you see this thing over here in the corner? I'll go, oh my God, I never even saw that in that corner. That corner's been there every time I open my computer. I never ever saw that, okay? If your filter is, that men with a capital M are going to hurt you, then that's all you'll see. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's all you'll see. If your filter is, it's going to be a great day, then that's what you'll see, right? And we can actively investigate this, right? You can actively write down in a little book each day, okay, today I'm going to be kind. That's going to be my ancestry, my schooling, my belief system, my prejudice, and my like and dislike. Being kind. That's going to be my world. And I am going to be kind everywhere I go. And I am going to look for the kindness in others. Doing that is one of the highest practices that you can actually undertake in any spiritual path. The next day, I am going to protect. I'm going to be someone who protects. I'm going to move the pencil off the stairs. I'm going to pick up trash in the street. I'm going to protect the environment. I'm going to protect and look for opportunities to protect. All right? And be a protector. And they say in acting, even if you have nothing to do, it doesn't mean you aren't still protecting. Like, you know, when you're on stage and you have to play a soldier and you just have to stand there in the scene, you know, guarding the castle or whatever, you're still protecting the whole time that you're standing there. You just weren't given much to do. All right? So you can be a protector, and you can be protecting all day long, just keeping an eye out for helping other people who might see something as a kind of danger. And that could even be that someone has hurt feelings, and you can say to them, just let it roll off your back. You know, let's go have a cup of tea and regain our sense of humor. You know, it's okay, it's going to be okay, right? To be a protector. These are what they call actions. Actions. And where disunity happens is when we have not decided to take command of our lives and be participants in these kinds of actions. We're kind of floating through our lives, hoping that because we're good people and we have good instincts, right, that things are just going to kind of work out. And the results are pretty consistent, so we kind of settle for that. But nobody would be in this room or listening online if you didn't have a sense that there was something more, that there was something much more extraordinary. And there is, and there is. I have found that there are traps in being a teacher, and one of the biggest of them is arrogance, and it requires tremendous determination to avoid that, and effort. We have a problem with language, and when you're a teacher, you're really aware of it. Words are empty, what they would say in Buddhism, empty. They don't have any inherent meaning. The English word for rock has nothing inherently hard about it. It doesn't mean anything to someone who doesn't speak English. It's a sound. It's a sound, that's all. It's a way of organizing your mouth and producing a sound, right? And yet, one of the things that separate us from each other and from a sense of what is sacred is language. Because what is truly sacred cannot be expressed. There's an extraordinary book out now called Proof of Heaven. Have any of you seen it? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. A doctor named Dr. Eben Alexander, who was a neurosurgeon with an incredibly elegant set of degrees behind his name, had a near-death experience, a profound one. And at the time when his doctors were daily gathering the family to try to prepare them for the fact that this man had a situation in his brain where his brain was being destroyed, and his aspect of being a human being, be able to have a consciousness of a human being, was being destroyed, where he was basically at the 97th percentile of mortality. He was in paradise, and he describes it in such an extraordinary way, and he keeps saying that it was more real than anything that he had experienced in his life here. And he actually returns, and he heals, and he writes about it. And one of the things he says, he was told, and he says, where he was, you didn't have to learn in a sort of linear time. Someone didn't say something to you and then you had to think about it and then understand it or whatever. He said to see was to understand. So this is a kind of omniscience. If to see is to immediately understand. That understanding took place, he said, as a kind of wave, as a kind of blissful wave, almost like he's bathing in wisdom and understanding. And one of the first things he understood was that you are loved, and that you don't need to be afraid, and that you can't do anything wrong. How amazing is that? And when he returned to health, he felt himself becoming more and more and more limited by his re-entering his body and his brain. And he had a true experience of the brain being such a filter, and that it kind of closes down on this enormous capacity that we have to understand, to love, to be free, and to experience a kind of joy, he said, that is indescribable, that's indescribable. So here's a man who now has written a book saying, I feel it is my solemn duty as someone who has been there and come back to now just broadcast this and celebrate it and let everyone know that this is what's possible. And that's what I mean, the way the book affected me is to look at things coming from that top down, that you're loved, that you have nothing to be afraid of, and that you can't do anything wrong. The innocence, okay? That you're doing the best you can at any given moment, and to know that. So that if, for instance, to make progress on a spiritual path involves you're being honest with yourself, you're really looking at yourself to try and clear yourself and purify yourself, then do that with a kind of joy, that you are unburdening yourself, you're unburdening your heart and mind of something that you've carried for so long, and that you're going to stand up, and be counted among those that are brave and are going to become selfless and help the others up, okay? To celebrate that, to be happy about that. Whether you're doing it on your own, or you're in a psychiatrist's office, or you're hanging on to your husband, or what, or just crying in the middle of a meditation and in prayer, saying, help me get out from under this. Celebrate that, all right? Rather than excoriating yourself for it. We have such confusion about this. And look for the kind of experience that is ineffable, that doesn't have words. Take time to be quiet and just to listen. Just to listen. Place in your mind the image of a teacher, someone who is sacred to you, holy to you. Put in your mind's eye that person in front of you, looking down at you or looking at you, maybe sitting across from you, maybe taking your hands and looking in your eyes, happy with you, pleased with you, loving you. And be with them and just listen. And the first thing that's going to happen is nothing. You're going to think nothing. Well, this doesn't work. Nothing. Don't worry about it. Just do that again and again and again. Something will come, or there will be an experience, some kind of experience during your day, or right then and there, of warmth, of connection, and that ineffable thing that goes beyond connection, where there's two and two, where there isn't a sense of two and two. We don't even have the language for it, but where there's one, where there's one, where you just feel happy, you feel okay, you don't feel the compulsion to do anything. Like someone who can just sit in a room, and you're not in a machine. You don't have to text, you don't have to type, you don't have to get up and do something. You're just there, and you're just happy. You're just happy. You know, my teacher, Lama Root, he always says, would that be a disappointment to you? If that's what extraordinary happiness looks like. You know, we're constantly saying, oh God, I got to take a vacation, I wish I could go to a spa, you know, I'd love to have a massage, blah, 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 blah. But you know that feeling after you've had a massage, and it's so sad because you know that they're not just going to leave you there till you want to get up. And you would really like that. You know that, you know, they say, oh, you know, take your time, but you know they don't mean that, right? Because they got another appointment. It's always one of the saddest experiences. I wish they really meant it. I wish I could just lie here. I wish I could lie here, maybe go to sleep. Maybe go to sleep. Just to let something play out on its own. I used to teach, the very first people I ever taught were chamber music musicians at the New England Conservatory of Music. And I used to teach a lot of the young musicians who they would play like angels. They would be these young virtuosi. They'd be amazing. You couldn't believe what they were doing on their instruments. Bless you. And then they would stand up at the end of the concert and they'd be sort of like, you know, they look like all disorganized and upset that they were standing there in front of everybody. And it just wrecked the concert when they did that. I would try to talk to them about why that was true, that they were going to have to keep playing the music with all the sophistication and elegance that they had been doing on their instrument. That their instrument wasn't something separate from them. That they had offered this music, and the music was in us at that point, all of us, and if they broke that spell, it was as if they had never played at all. So I would say to them, you have to now take a vow that you will bow to us in the audience, and that by bowing you will thank us for having this incredible, ineffable connection, right? Our gratitude, let our gratitude penetrate you. And carry that beyond the wings when you leave, so that we can do the same. Same. Okay? In African art, you very often see sculptures made out of wood or cloth that are animals, and they're pounded with nails. They've got nails all over them. They look like a porcupine or something, or heads that have nails in them. It used to frighten me, and I asked a friend of mine who actually teaches African art, I said, you know, what is this? It makes me nervous. And he said, that's the interpenetration of the spirit and matter. Wow. I'm sorry. I had no idea. He said, yeah, he said, because a lot of African art is made to be carried or danced with. It moves through space. It's not like Western art that gets hung on the wall and looked at. It's active, it participates, it penetrates, you know, the air and the environment. And the spirit penetrates the dancer. And the dancer has an experience. All right? This is what you're looking for on a spiritual path, right? see if I can find. Yeah. In terms of our language, we identify with something. We want to relate to something. We want to be with someone. There's always a connector. There's a connector which seems to, again, separate the very thing that we're trying to bring together. That's the linguistic glitch that we have. You're the same as something, right? Connection means to join, to link, or fasten together, to unite or bind, from con, which means with in Latin, and nectare, which means to bind, that thing which binds. Nexus means the means of binding, the means of bringing together. The word religion means the same thing. It means to bind again, or to make whole again that which was broken or which was separated. It's so beautiful. So, once again, we can't practice religion in general. We practice a religion. We can't speak in general. We speak a language. In the specific is the big picture. In the microcosm is the macrocosm. One of the most beautiful things that I can experience on earth is when I'm teaching acting in an acting class, or when I'm seeing someone on stage, or even in a film, and they do something very simple, like they put on a shirt very carefully to get dressed, a beautiful clean shirt, or they comb their hair in a mirror that's invisible, or they get something sticky on their hands, and you know that on the set there isn't actually anything sticky there. They're just creating it out of thin air. And I go, my God, that is so beautiful, so beautiful. E.E. Cummings said in a poem, "The children imitating the cormorants are more beautiful than the cormorants." Cormorants are these beautiful birds, water birds. It's the same as us and God. The children imitating God are more beautiful than God, because God is in the children. Because God is in the children. Because that's where God is. Niels Bohr, a great Danish scientist who won the Nobel Peace Prize, he said, he did a great experiment where he discovered that if two participles connect, even if they are blown to the ends of the universe opposite each other, if something happens to one, it happens to the other. This was an amazing discovery. That at the very lowest levels of subatomic particles, everything is connected. Everything is connected. You are not sitting alone in your room when you go home from class and you're lost, or you're, the string got cut or something, and you're not in connection with someone else, or you're not in connection with God. That's an impossibility, actually. And then they thought, after he discovered this, that in fact, well, there must be a signal, some sort of invisible signal going between these particles. And they thought, well, but they would have to travel faster than the speed of light, and how could that happen? And then they finally realized it was the wrong question. There is no signal, because there is no separation. This is really profound. It is really hard to understand in our, quote, ordinary experience of ourselves in any given day. So, okay, gratitude. Gratitude for being alive, right? The freshness of the moment. It's open, it's new, like you just got born in any given moment. You can start on a dime. If you feel you're failing, if you feel you're lonely, if you feel you're angry, if you feel you're upset, just stay there. Just breathe. It will pass. It's just weather going through. The sun is actually out all the time. It is not who you are. Who you are is no separation. Who you are is not the weather. Who you are is not the small stuff. Who you are is not ordinary. Who you are is a constantly changing, evolving thing. With no separation from the divine, which is that you are loved, that you don't need to be afraid, and that you can do no wrong. You just have to, with your good mind, with all the sophistication that you have, and with your whole heart, line yourself up with that consciously. So you have to remember, we can't just rely on our instincts. We can't just rely that we're good people, or we have a college degree, or we had teachings from Lama Marut, or you were here tonight, or whatever. We can't rely on that. We can't rely on that. We have to be mindful of those things, meaning we have to walk around as them. Experience is of a different order than what happens to us intellectually. The teachings pull on us, they have an effect on us, something stirs, but it often slides away. But when spirit becomes interpenetrated with matter, something happens. So it's 8:45, and do you guys want to take a break? Would you like to have something to eat, a cup of tea, and then we'll continue? Or are you okay? You want to keep going? 5-minute break? Okay. All right.